The message came on a Tuesday. All across Earth, every screen, radio, and communication device played the same words. Greetings, people of Earth. We come in peace. The voice was smooth and almost human, but with a strange musical quality that no human voice could produce. Captain John Miller stood in the Pentagon War Room, watching the generals and politicians panic. At 42, with 15 years of naval command experience, John had seen many crises, but nothing like this. His close-cropped brown hair and steady blue eyes gave him a calm appearance that had served him well throughout his career. "They want to meet our leaders in 3 days," said Defense Secretary Ward, his voice strained. "The President wants you there, Miller." John nodded. "Why me, sir?" "Because you're level-headed and you've got combat experience without being trigger-happy. And because they specifically asked for military representation." 2 days later, John met Susan Green, the diplomat chosen to accompany him. She was tall and confident, with dark skin and intelligent eyes that missed nothing. "Captain Miller, I hope we can work well together," she said, shaking his hand firmly. "This is the most important first impression in human history." "No pressure, then," John said with a slight smile. The meeting point was a field outside Geneva. When the alien ship descended, it made no sound. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a teardrop, and about the size of a small office building. A door appeared in its side, and out stepped the first alien humans had ever seen. The Zolarian ambassador stood 7 feet tall with blue-tinted skin that shimmered in the sunlight. It had 4 arms and a face that reminded John of a cat, with large golden eyes and a small mouth. It wore something like a robe made of flowing material that changed colors as it moved. "I am Selforin, ambassador of the Galactic Council and representative of the Zolarian Confederation," it said in perfect English. "We have watched your species for some time. You have reached a level of development that qualifies you for contact." Susan stepped forward. "We are honored to meet you. I am Susan Green, and this is Captain John Miller." The alien's eyes fixed on John's uniform. A military representative. Interesting choice. The next day, the President announced the news to a shocked world. Humans were not alone, and the Galactic Council had invited Earth to join them. 1 week later, John and Susan boarded the Zolarian ship. They would be the first humans to leave the solar system. As they prepared for departure, John received a sealed message from Admiral Frank Martinez. "Eyes open, ears sharp," was all it said. The journey took only hours, using technology humans had never imagined. When they emerged, John's breath caught. Before them hung an enormous structure, a massive ring in space, glittering with lights and surrounded by ships of all shapes and sizes. "Welcome to Council Station," said Excelforin, home to representatives from 27 sentient species. As they docked, Susan whispered to John, "Did you notice how they speak to us? Like we're children." John nodded slightly. He had noticed. Their quarters were comfortable but small. After settling in, they were invited to meet other council representatives at what Excelforin called an informal gathering. The room was filled with aliens of every description. Some looked almost human. Others were completely foreign. Clouds of gas contained in floating suits, insect-like beings with dozens of limbs, creatures that seemed made of crystal. "The humans have arrived," announced Excelforin, "our newest potential protectorate species." John noticed the way the other aliens looked at them, with curiosity, yes, but also something else. Something that made him uneasy. A tall, thin alien with gray skin approached. "So these are humans, smaller than I expected. And so, solid. We come from a high-gravity world," John said carefully. Yes, a primitive planet, but with potential." The alien turned to Excelforin. "How long before they're ready for integration?" "Not long," said Excelforin, glancing at John and Susan. "They're eager to learn from more advanced species, aren't you?" John smiled politely, but his mind was racing. There was something in the alien's tone, a hint of condescension that bothered him deeply. That night, as Susan and John discussed their impressions, one thing became clear. The Galactic Council didn't see humans as equals. They saw them as primitives to be guided or controlled. "We need to be careful," Susan said quietly. "Very careful." John thought of Admiral Martinez's message and nodded. "Something tells me there's a lot they're not telling us." John woke early the next morning, his body still adjusting to the artificial day-night cycle of the station. Susan was already up, reviewing notes on her tablet. "They're taking us to the full council session today," she said without looking up. "All 27 species will be there. All judging whether we're worthy," John said. He had not slept well. Something about this place felt wrong. Exelthorin arrived to escort them to the council chamber. The room was enormous, a perfect circle with raised platforms arranged in tiers. Each platform held representatives of different species. Some sat, some stood, some floated in special tanks. At the center was a large open space where John and Susan were directed to stand. Above them, a dome showed the stars outside the station. The effect was both beautiful and intimidating. "Representatives of Earth," a voice boomed. It belonged to a tall, thin alien with gray skin that John recognized from the reception. "I am High Counselor Zevran. We welcome you to this historic session." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as it spoke. "For 50,000 years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace among the stars. Species that join us receive protection, technology, and guidance." Susan stepped forward. "Earth is honored by your invitation, High Counselor. Before you can join, there are terms to consider," Zevran continued. "All new species must accept certain adjustments." A hologram appeared, showing detailed plans. As John and Susan watched, the terms became clear. Earth would need to disarm most of its military. Humans would receive some technology, but would face restrictions on what they could develop themselves. Earth's resources would be managed by council experts. "These terms are standard for all protectorate species," said Exelthorin smoothly. "For your own protection." John noticed several smaller aliens on the lower tiers shifting uncomfortably. One caught his eye and quickly looked away. After the session, they were led to a private room where a tall, muscular alien waited. Its skin was deep red, and it wore what looked like armor. "I am Krelvox, Chief of Council Security," it said. "I wish to speak with you personally, Captain Miller." Susan started to speak, but Krelvox raised a hand. "Only the military representative, please." Susan looked at John, who nodded slightly. She left reluctantly. "Your species concerns some council members," Krelvox said once they were alone. "Humans develop weapons quickly. Your history is filled with war." "We've learned from our mistakes," John said. Krelvox made a sound like a bark. "Have you? You've had nuclear weapons for less than a century and have nearly destroyed yourselves twice." The alien leaned closer. "The Council sees humans as unpredictable primitives. You need guidance before you hurt yourselves or others." "Is that a threat?" John asked quietly. "A reality," Krelvox replied. "Accept protection or face the consequences." Back on Earth, Admiral Frank Martinez stared at the encrypted message on his screen. It was from the President herself. "Project Thundercloud is now Priority Alpha. Timeline accelerated. We may need it sooner than expected." The Admiral pressed a button on his desk. "Get me Olivia Daniels. Now." Meanwhile, Susan had found her way to an observation deck. As she looked out at the stars, a small alien approached. It had soft purple skin and large, gentle eyes. "First time seeing the galaxy from this view?" it asked. Susan nodded. "I am Nera of the Eridani," the alien said. "We were one of the last species to join before you." "Are you happy with your decision?" Susan asked carefully. Nera hesitated. "The Council protects us. But protection has a price," Nara whispered. "Be careful what you agree to. Some terms cannot be changed once accepted." Later, Susan shared her conversation with John. I think there's more to these protectorate agreements than they're telling us. John nodded. Krelvox all but threatened Earth if we don't accept their terms. As they talked, Susan's tablet chimed. A message appeared. Council demands complete inventory of Earth military capabilities within 30 days. Non-compliance will be seen as hostile action. They're pushing us, John said, his face grim. But why the rush? Susan looked out at the stars. I think we need to find out what happened to the last species that refused Council protection. John found Nara waiting in a quiet corner of the station's garden area. The small purple alien looked nervous, constantly checking to see if anyone was watching them. Thank you for meeting me, John said. Susan told me you might have information. Nara's large eyes darted around before answering. What happens to my people if the Council discovers I spoke with you? I won't tell anyone, John promised. Nara seemed to make a decision. My planet joined the Council 5 of your Earth years ago. We were told we would receive protection, technology, education. And you didn't. We received some things, yes, but now we provide resources to the Council. Our best minerals, our rare plants. Our people work in Council factories. We cannot build our own ships or weapons. John leaned forward. You're saying you became servants. Resource providers, Nara corrected bitterly. Like the Tellarites, the Vox, the Jundai, and others. All protected species. Meanwhile, Susan had been granted access to the Council archives for cultural research. What she actually searched for was very different. She carefully browsed records of resource surveys, looking for mentions of Earth. What she found made her blood run cold. Earth's solar system contained 15 elements the Council classified as priority resources. 3 of them were extremely rare in the galaxy. The report specifically noted the inefficient use of resources by native inhabitants. They see us as sitting on treasure and wasting it, she whispered to herself. On Earth, Admiral Martinez walked through a massive underground facility. Beside him was Olivia Daniels, a brilliant engineer with short red hair and intense green eyes. The President has given us 12 days, Martinez said. Can we be ready? Olivia stopped in front of a huge viewing window. Beyond it, thousands of workers swarmed over what looked like the skeleton of an enormous ship. We've been working on this for 15 years, Frank, she said. Since the first signals were detected. We're close. How close? The hull is complete. The drives work. The defensive systems are operational. She paused. We need to finish the integration of the special systems. Martinez nodded. Do whatever it takes. Earth's future depends on it. Back on the station, John received a strange message directing him to maintenance level 7. Cautiously, he made his way there, hand near the small knife he kept hidden in his boot, the only weapon the Council had allowed him to keep. In a dim corridor, he found 3 aliens waiting. One was Nara. The others were species he hadn't met before, one with scaled skin, and another that seemed made of living crystal. These are representatives from other protectorate worlds, Nara explained. They want to speak with you. The scaled alien stepped forward. I am Civ of the Tellarites. We joined the Council 60 years ago. Now we mine minerals for Council worlds. The crystal being glimmered as it spoke. I am Crystal of the Luminae. We process energy for Council technology. We joined 90 years ago. Why tell me this? John asked. Because Earth still has a choice, Civ said. Once you accept their protection, it will be too late. The last species that refused was the Dravidi, Crystal added. They were pacified. Pacified, John repeated. Their military was destroyed. Their leaders replaced. Now they produce food for Council worlds, Nara explained softly. Later that night, John shared what he had learned with Susan. She told him about the resource reports. They don't want to help us, Susan said. They want what we have. Their discussion was interrupted by an incoming message. The Council demanded Earth's military inventory within 10 days now, not 30. The timeline had been moved up. They're getting impatient, John said. Susan's face was grim. We need to warn Earth. How? All our communications go through council systems. Susan smiled slightly. Not all of them. I think I found a way to send a secure message. But it's risky. Do it, John said without hesitation. Earth needs to know what we're really facing. Susan's message reached Earth through a network of communication relays used by the protectorate species. It was risky, but their new allies had helped them bypass council monitoring systems. 3 days later, Susan and John were called to meet with the High Council. As they entered the chamber, John could feel the tension in the air. High Counselor Zevran looked down at them with all 4 eyes narrowed. The council has been patient, Zevran said, but Earth continues to delay providing its military inventory. This is unacceptable. Susan stepped forward. Earth is still processing the council's request. Our planet has many nations, each with their own military forces. Gathering this information takes time. We have decided this process must be accelerated, said Excel Foreign. The Council issues an ultimatum. Earth must accept protectorate status within 5 days or face sanctions. What kind of sanctions? John asked, keeping his voice steady. Krill Vox, standing to the side, answered. Trade restrictions, communications blackouts, if necessary, a peacekeeping force. John felt a chill at the last words. Peacekeeping force meant invasion in any language. We need time to consult with our government, Susan said firmly. You have 5 days, Zevran replied. The council's patience is not unlimited. Outside the chamber, Susan whispered to John, they're pushing too hard. Something's wrong. I think your message got through, John replied quietly. They're worried about what Earth might do. That evening, Susan met with several council species who had shown interest in Earth culture. She had organized what she called a cultural exchange, a clever way to buy more time. Before any military agreements, Earth wishes to build understanding between our peoples. She explained to the gathered aliens, we have thousands of years of art, music, and literature to share. Some council members seemed genuinely interested. A few even supported delaying the military discussions. Meanwhile, John secretly met with representatives from the protectorate species again. This time, there were more of them. The council grows nervous. Civ the Tellerate told him, they have never encountered a species that delays like this. Most species are either too primitive to resist or too afraid to question, added Crystal of the Lumine. What happens if we continue to resist? John asked. Nera's large eyes were sad. Look outside. The answer is there. John went to a viewing port and saw several large warships moving into position. They were Zolarian vessels, sleek and deadly. The peacekeeping force, he murmured. Back on Earth, Project Thundercloud entered its final testing phase. In a secret facility hidden on the far side of the moon, Admiral Martinez watched as technicians ran diagnostics on systems that shouldn't exist by Council standards. Will it work? He asked Olivia. The technology is sound, she replied, but we've never tested it against actual Council weapons. Let's hope we don't have to, Martinez said, though his tone suggested he believed otherwise. A lieutenant approached with a tablet. Admiral, we're receiving reports of unusual activity. Council ships are moving into positions around Earth. Martinez's face hardened. How many? 7 ships, sir. More arriving. Martinez turned to Olivia. How much longer? 24 hours for final checks, she said, but we can launch now if necessary. The Admiral nodded. Put the crew on standby. And get me the President. On the Council station, John and Susan received an urgent message from Earth. It was brief but clear. Council ships entering Earth orbit, claiming routine survey mission. Orders. Susan looked at John. They're not waiting 5 days. John's jaw tightened. We need to get to the Council chamber. Now. As they hurried through the station corridors, alarms began to sound. Something was happening, and judging by the reactions of the aliens around them, it wasn't planned. What's going on? Susan asked a passing Eridani. Emergency Council session, the alien replied. Something about Earth. The emergency council session was chaotic. Species representatives shouted over each other as John and Susan entered the chamber. On the main screen, images showed council ships surrounding Earth. What is the meaning of this? Susan demanded as she approached the central platform. Your ultimatum gave us 5 days. High Counselor Zevran raised a hand for silence. The Council has authorized a routine resource survey. This is standard procedure. Without Earth's permission, John asked, his voice tight with anger. Those are warships, not survey vessels. Zelforin stepped forward. Captain Miller, please understand. These are simply security measures while the survey takes place. You're invading our planet, Susan said flatly. A strong word, Krelvox replied. We prefer protective observation. As they argued, more images appeared on the screens. Council ships were landing near major cities. Alien troops were deploying near key facilities. This is an act of war, John said quietly. War, Zevran laughed. Your species cannot wage war against the Council. Your technology is centuries behind ours. This is for your protection. On Earth, Admiral Martinez watched the alien ships from his command center. Council forces had already secured 3 major cities and were approaching military bases. They're testing us, he said to his officers, seeing if we'll fight back. His secure line beeped. It was the president. Frank, the council representatives are demanding we stand down all forces. They claim this is a protective action. Protected for who? Martins asked. They say for us. Against ourselves. The president paused. I'm authorizing Operation Rising Shield. You have command authority. Martinez straightened. Yes, Madam President. He turned to his communications officer. Send the activation code to the lunar base and get me Captain Rodriguez. In the hidden lunar facility, Olivia Daniels received the code. Her hands trembled slightly as she entered it into the system. Operation Rising Shield is active, she announced to the control room. Powering main systems. Deep within the facility, enormous engines hummed to life. Systems that had never been fully activated began to power up. Captain Lisa Rodriguez strode onto the bridge of humanity's greatest secret. At 38, with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that missed nothing, she was one of Earth's finest officers. Status report, she ordered. All systems online, Captain, her first officer replied. Cloak is functioning at 100%. Weapons are hot. Shields at maximum. Rodriguez nodded. Prepare to launch. Back on the council station, Susan was trying desperately to reason with the council members. Earth has done nothing to warrant this action, she argued. We have been peaceful. We have been open to negotiations. Your delays suggest otherwise, said Krelvox. Intelligence indicates your planet is hiding military capabilities. John stepped forward. Every sovereign planet has the right to defend itself. Not against the Council, Zevran stated. The safety of the galaxy requires that primitive species be properly guided. As they spoke, a junior Zolarian officer rushed in and whispered something to Zelforin. The ambassador's expression changed from confidence to concern. What is it? Demanded Zevran. Our ships report unusual energy readings from Earth's moon, Zelforin said. Something is happening that was not in our intelligence reports. On the screens, council ships began to move toward the moon. Suddenly, several of them stopped, caught in some invisible force. What's happening? Krelvox demanded of his officers. One of the council technicians looked up from a console, confusion on his alien face. Unknown technology detected. Our ships cannot move. Their weapons are offline. John and Susan exchanged glances. Neither spoke, but both thought the same thing. Earth was fighting back. In the secret lunar base, Admiral Martinez watched as the massive bay doors opened. From the shadows of the crater emerged the U.S. Defiant, Earth's secret warship. Larger than any council vessel, It rose silently against the blackness of space. All ships, this is Admiral Martinez. Operation Rising Shield is now active. Captain Rodriguez, you have permission to engage. Understood, Admiral, came Rodriguez's calm reply. The Defiant is moving to protect Earth. Silence fell over the council chamber as the main screen showed something impossible. Rising from behind Earth's moon came a ship of incredible size. It was sleek yet powerful, with smooth lines that somehow appeared both beautiful and threatening. It dwarfed the Zolarian vessels that had been surrounding Earth. "What is that?" Zevran whispered, all four eyes wide. "That," John said with quiet pride, "is a human warship." The council erupted into chaos. Some representatives shouted accusations of deception. Others called for immediate military action. A few simply stared at the screen in shock. "Impossible," Krelvox shouted. "Earth does not possess this technology." Susan smiled slightly. "It seems we do." On the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, Captain Lisa Rodriguez watched as her ship moved smoothly between Earth and the Council fleet. The enormous vessel responded perfectly to each command. "Target the Zolarian command ship," she ordered. "Non-destructive measures only." "Targeting systems locked," her weapons officer replied. "Neutralization beam ready." "Fire." From the Defiant, a beam of blue-white energy lanced out, engulfing the Zolarian command ship. Instead of exploding, the alien vessel simply went dark, all its systems disabled. "One down," Rodriguez said calmly. "Target the next ship." One by one, the Council vessels lost power. Not destroyed, but completely helpless in space. In the Council chamber, the alien representatives watched in disbelief. Humans had technology that could disable their ships without destroying them. Technology that, by Council standards, humans shouldn't have for centuries. "Captain Miller," Telforan said, his voice shaking slightly, "please explain what is happening." Before John could answer, the main screen changed. Captain Rodriguez's face appeared, calm and confident. "This is Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the United Earth Ship Defiant. Your vessels have entered Earth space without permission and have taken hostile actions against our planet. All your ships have been neutralized. Your weapons are offline. Your engines are disabled. Your people are unharmed." Krelvox stepped forward. "This is impossible. Earth is a primitive world. You cannot have this technology." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Yet here we are." High Counselor Zevran found his voice. "This deception will not be tolerated. The full might of the Council will." "The full might of the Council," Rodriguez interrupted, "is currently sitting helpless above Earth. I suggest you reconsider your approach to diplomacy." On Earth, Admiral Martinez watched with satisfaction as Council forces found themselves suddenly without support. Their weapons stopped working. Their communications went silent. Alien troops who had been confidently moving toward human cities now stood confused and vulnerable. "First phase complete," Martinez reported to the President. "Council forces neutralized." Back on the station, John and Susan were surrounded by bewildered council members demanding explanations. "How long have you had this ship?" Zelforan asked. "Long enough," John replied. "Earth detected alien signals years ago. We've been preparing, just in case those aliens weren't friendly." Susan addressed the council formally. "For decades, Earth has observed your ships at the edges of our solar system. While you thought you were secretly studying us, we were studying you." "Impossible," muttered Krelvox. "Your technology is different from yours," Susan finished for him. "Not inferior, just different." On the main screen, the Defiant moved with graceful power among the disabled Council ships. Its size was intimidating, its technology clearly beyond what the Council had expected from primitive humans. "I believe," John said into the stunned silence, "that it's time to discuss new terms for Earth's relationship with the Galactic Council." Nara and the other representatives of protectorate species watched with growing hope. For the first time in many years, the council looked uncertain. Zevran's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he processed this dramatic change in circumstances. Finally, he spoke. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The next day, John and Susan returned to the council chamber, but everything was different now. Instead of standing in the center like suspects on trial, they sat at a table as equals. Across from them were High Counselor Zevran, Selforin, and Krelvox. Gone was their previous confidence, replaced by caution and a new respect. Earth wishes to discuss terms for joining the Galactic Council. Susan began, as equals, not as a protectorate. Zevran's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. The Council has never admitted a new species as a full member immediately. The Council has never met humans before, John replied simply. On the main screen, Captain Rodriguez appeared. She was now on the Council station, having arrived via shuttle after leaving the Defiant under her first officer's command. Allow me to introduce Captain Lisa Rodriguez, Susan said, commander of the U.S. Defiant. Rodriguez nodded at the council members. Her presence made the alien representatives shift uncomfortably. I must ask, Ixel Foreign said, trying to sound casual, how many vessels like the Defiant does Earth possess? Rodriguez smiled slightly. That information is classified, but I can tell you the Defiant is not alone. This was true. While the Defiant was Earth's largest and most powerful ship, there were others in different stages of completion, each with different capabilities. Krelvox leaned forward. Your technology. It is unlike anything in council records. How did you develop it? Humans are inventive, Rodriguez said. And when we detected your observation ships years ago, we became very motivated. The conversation was interrupted when dozens of representatives from protectorate species entered the chamber. Nara led them, standing taller than before. We wish to witness these negotiations, Nara announced. What happens here affects all protectorate worlds. Zevran started to object, but Susan cut him off. Earth welcomes their presence. In fact, we insist on it. The council members had little choice but to agree. As discussions continued, it became clear that Earth would not accept second-class status. We propose an amendment to council structure, Susan said. All species should have equal voting rights, regardless of how long they have been members. Impossible, Zevran exclaimed. The founding species have always. Times change, John interrupted. A council that treats some members as less worthy than others isn't really a council. It's an empire. The word hung in the air. Many protectorate representatives nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, Admiral Martinez was aboard the Defiant, inspecting the ship with Olivia Daniels. 15 years of secret work, Martinez said quietly. Worth every moment. Olivia nodded. The shield technology was the key. They never imagined we could develop it independently. Their arrogance was their weakness, Martinez replied. They were so sure of their superiority that they never considered we might take a different path. Back in the council chamber, the negotiations had reached a critical point. The council must vote, Zevran announced. Do we accept Earth as a full member with equal status? To everyone's surprise, Xelforin spoke up. I vote yes. The humans have proven themselves. One by one, other council species voted. Some agreed readily, impressed by human technology. Others agreed reluctantly, afraid of human power. A few refused, clinging to the old ways. When the votes were counted, Earth had been accepted. Barely. The margin was just 2 votes. Welcome to the Galactic Council, Zevran said formally, though his tone lacked warmth. Susan smiled. Thank you. Now about those protectorate agreements. Krelvox nearly choked. What about them? Earth proposes they all be reviewed, John said. Every species deserves the same respect we demanded for ourselves. Around the chamber, hope bloomed on the faces of protectorate representatives. Nara's eyes shone with unused tears. For the first time in thousands of years, the balance of power in the Galactic Council was shifting. and it had taken humans, the supposed primitives, to make it happen. 1 month later, the Galactic Council was a changed place. Earth's sudden arrival as a major power had shaken the old order to its core. The Grand Council chamber now featured a new seating arrangement. All species sat at the same level, a visible symbol of the new equality. Susan stood before the assembled representatives, presenting the final report of the Protectorate Review Committee. "We have examined all existing agreements," she said. "Our recommendation is that every species be offered full membership status, with the same rights Earth has secured." Some of the older council members shifted uncomfortably, but none dared object openly. Not with the U.S. Defiant visible through the station's massive windows, its sleek form a constant reminder of human capability. "The vote will now begin," announced Zevran, who remained High Counselor, but with reduced powers. One by one, the species voted. When the final count was displayed, the result was clear. The Protectorate system would end. All species would become full members with equal rights. Nara rushed to Susan when the session ended. "You have done what we thought impossible," the small purple alien said, eyes shining. "My people will be free." John smiled. "It's what any decent species would do." Meanwhile, Captain Rodriguez led a delegation of council representatives on a tour of the Defiant. The ship had docked with the station, and for the first time, alien visitors were permitted to see some of its systems. "The hull is made of a composite material we developed," Rodriguez explained as they walked through a corridor. "It's lighter and stronger than anything the Council uses." "And your weapons systems?" asked a Zolarian engineer, trying to sound casual. Rodriguez smiled. "Some areas remain restricted." In another part of the station, Admiral Martinez met with representatives from species who had been impressed by human technology. Trade agreements were being discussed, cultural exchanges planned. "Earth welcomes peaceful cooperation," Martinez told them. "We believe every species has something valuable to offer." Back on Earth, Olivia Daniels stood in the Oval Office, explaining to the President how humans had developed technology so different from the Council's. "They focused on direct energy weapons and brute force," she said. "We took a different path: deflection, absorption, misdirection. Our shields don't just block attacks, they capture the energy and repurpose it." The President nodded. "And they never saw it coming because they couldn't imagine a primitive species thinking differently." "Exactly," Olivia replied. "Their biggest mistake was assuming their way was the only way." As the day drew to a close, John, Susan, and Captain Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, looking out at Earth glowing blue and green in the distance. "Hard to believe it was just 2 months ago that we thought we were alone in the galaxy," Susan said. John nodded. "And now we're reshaping the political structure of a civilization thousands of years old." "Humans are good at adaptation," Rodriguez said. "It's our greatest strength." They were joined by Nara and representatives from several other formerly protectorate species. "We have formed a new alliance," Nara announced. "Species who wish to work together as equals. We would like Earth to join us." Susan smiled. "I think that can be arranged." As they spoke, ships from many worlds moved around the station. Some were council vessels, others from the newly freed worlds. They varied in size, shape, and technology, but they shared the same space peacefully. Among them, the Defiant stood out, not just for its size or power, but for what it represented. A reminder that appearances could be deceiving, that primitive didn't mean simple, and that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the galaxy was underestimating humans. "What happens now?" asked one of the alien representatives. John looked out at the stars. Countless possibilities spread before them. "Now," he said, "we explore together, as equals." The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity had earned its place among the stars not just through strength, but by standing up for what was right, for themselves and for others. That, more than any warship, was humanity's true power.